Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. I'm Ronaldo McKenzie. Today, I want to shift a little bit, just this episode, from talking about Ukraine and what's happening in Ukraine. But later on, in another episode, we will give you update as to what's going on there. But today, many of you know that I completed 2 masters at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And I studied neoliberal globalization, looking at the effects of neoliberalism on the global South. Looking at the global South, and not just the global South, but its diaspora. Looking at vulnerable people. And I wrote a book which was part of my thesis, part of my study. And the title of the book is Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. It's a 400-page non-fiction academic textbook, which I also used when I was teaching at the Jamaica Theological Seminary, an online course. I teach that college pro bono, but I was teaching a course, and I actually utilized some of the concepts in this book. But the book makes several assumptions. The book looks at income inequality, not just between peoples, but looking at it geographically, the global South as against the global North. And when we talk about the global South, we're talking about developing countries, we're talking about third world countries, but we no longer use the word third world, because third world is discriminatory, or if it's backward. So we say global South instead of third world. But in the book we look at poverty, and we look at how neoliberal strategies, how to liberalize economies of the global South, and how the IMF and the World Bank and several machineries and systems of the global North and world systems have penetrated these countries to the fact that they no longer have any kind of independence and the kind of prosperity, but of course post-colonialism and their experience with slavery has also affected that country. And we have also talked about this in this book and several other discussions that we've had. And I said in the book, the preface, the beginning, I said, when we hear of Jamaica or the Caribbean, we think of beautiful islands of paradise with sun, sea, sand, reggae music, cannabis, and Arab people like Usain Bolt. People who are living out their best dreams, desires, and lives. But this book analyzes this motif, given the historical and current economic and political situation in Jamaica and the Caribbean and the global South. Of course, in an attempt to escape the adverse realities of poverty, inequality, and justice, the people of the global South find themselves in North metropolises with very little agency and minimal change to their lives. In fact, except for the use of cleaning, neoliberal waste, the immigrant is usually portrayed as an alien with 3 heads and big sharp teeth seeking to steal and destroy profit and disrupt society. As such, we will discuss Black, Brown, and Pan-African struggles for economic prosperity, justice, and freedom, and consider effects, abilities, or inabilities to chart their own futures since decolonization, and realize real political independence and economic prosperity. Now, somebody did a review of the book, and while they said that it was an exceptional and erudite economic analysis, they said that one person said that it needed some more solutions. But of course, the book was looking at problems and exploring whether or not we can have solutions to these problems with the countries of the global South. What's the problem? Economic independence. They don't have any money. So I've been going around trying to look at the solutions. Of course, one person in Jamaica, a good friend of mine, Kevin Donaldson, who owns Roots Financial, or he and a group of friends owns now Roots Financial. Now they now have the ability. Now they created a system or a company where people can send money from abroad all over the world, which was done by Western Union. That's one of the things that they are doing. Another thing that people are contemplating is regenerative agriculture, which is what we want to talk about today. And I did an interview with someone by the name of Colette, who is an expert in regenerative agriculture and who works in Latin America. And I am going to share that interview with you on this program. So, sit back, relax, and listen to the interview about regenerative agriculture. solutions to the issues of neoliberal globalization. Because, of course, we talk about world hunger and how we deal with world hunger or poverty. One of the ways we can deal with it is thinking about cutting edge ways, regenerative agriculture, because many of these countries, they have riches in their country, the land. The land provides a lot of solutions to some of the problems that we have. And if these countries can develop their own independence, instead of charting a course of what I call dependent capitalism, which is what a lot of global countries are. A lot of global countries, they are dependent capitalist countries who pursue a culture of servitude through their tourism. But what about regenerative agriculture and those kinds of things? Let's listen to this interview with Colette about this great cutting-edge work that they're doing in Latin America to give these people independence, figuring out how they can use the soil as a way to feed and to develop some prosperity. Listen to the interview. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. I mean, I love this job. I meet so many great people. Here am I talking to Colette, who is, she studied international relations, international development. She goes all over the world trying to respond to issues of globalization. She said she did life and death and learned about what globalization has done to the world. And now she's in Latin America and does work. And she's going to talk to me about regenerative agriculture. Yes. So, what is regenerative agriculture?
So regenerative agriculture is a framework that, of course, really indigenous people around the world have been using just because they're connected to the land in a way that most, if we're looking at conventional agriculture, especially in the models in the United States, have been really disassociated from. What's happened in the commercial agricultural platform, again, kind of coming back to what we could consider a globalization model that's been exported from the West around the world, is systematically dismantling developing countries from being able to access their own independent freedom, even when it comes down to things like sovereignty over seeds,
yes,
sovereignty over their own land and cultivation, the amendments that they're using in their agricultural profiles, etc. So what's happened, unfortunately, is that the conventional agricultural model that's been building really is after post-World War II, but we could say over the last 100 years in the United States. I don't know if you're familiar with the Dust Bowl, Ronaldo, and what happened with that. The Dust Bowl was a period that happened before really the first Great Depression in the United States.
Right.
It was part of the systematic aspect of that happened with the Great Depression. But what happened was people were completely overutilizing their soils and not replenishing them, especially with carbon. And carbon, when we're talking about carbon, is actual plant matter. So we can think about green carbon, that's more sort of fresh carbon, like leaves, like grass cuttings, let's say.
Yes.
And then woody carbon is things like, when you cut a tree down and you pulverize it, or when a tree is kind of decomposing, etc., and it has sort of that more woody components. So what happened is that they completely removed what's considered a carbon cycle from the soil structure.
Right.
And what happens is that in the soil, there is this incredible prolific world. I mean, it's like, what we actually know about soil is tremendously little. It is a huge biodiverse realm of interconnections that allow plants to actually, it's like same thing as you and I, right? Like what happens when you and I are hungry? What do? We want to eat something.
We want to eat something. Yes.
Something. So what we'll do is and if we're smart, we'll try to eat something that's healthy, and we'll listen to our body, about what our body's really needing as far as protein, fat, etc. Of course, that can get out of, people can get unhealthy, let's say, but putting it to the framework of plants already know how to be able to feed each other, and there's an intricate network of what's called microorganisms in the soil that create this framework for plants to be able to regenerate and to be able to feed properly. And so with conventional agriculture, those models have been completely dismantled. We plant one crop, we plant the same genetic species, and then what happens is that a lot of plant resistance resistances will come to that from not having proper supportive microorganisms, using synthetic fertilizers and chemicals that kill that structure, building reliance on those chemicals and amendments that, for example, like in the developing world, we're talking tens of thousands of years of tradition.
Yes.
Well, let's say 10,000 years is when people think the first agricultural system started in Mesopotamia.
Right.
So, who knows? I tend to think it's probably a bit more, but let's say 10,000 years, okay?
Yes.
So a long time that people around the world have been saving seeds, that they've been systematically studying what seeds work, what plants don't, what plants are more fertile, abundant, resilient, etc. Saving those seeds, building those crops the next year, building them just in their own microclimate,
right,
building their cultural foods around those plants, etc. And so what's happening, like even considering this globalization aspect to this, I mean, I use this framework when I was in Malawi many years ago, working there.
Yes.
And the president of Malawi, Malawi is an incredibly poor country.
Mm-hmm.
There was billboards up of the president that were paid for by Pioneer Seeds. That is, I think they got bought out by another seed company. I
Right.
can't remember right now. But they were, like putting up, they were basically promising people, to give them all of their seeds, give them all of their amendments.
Yes.
And what happens with these chemical companies, they're really chemical companies that are producing these seed companies.
Yes.
They go into the developing world, they give people all of their amendments, they get them, it's like drug dealers, they get them hooked on them. And then what happens is that in a very short timeline, people stop saving their own seeds, they lose their own genetics.
Yes.
They become reliant on those fertilizers. They kill the microbiome in their soil. They basically become addicted to these amendments, and then they can't afford them. It's like the first one's free kind of thing. And so the president of Malawi was in this kind of scandal at that time. Well, no, we knew about it because we were involved in agriculture. But he would, kind of be like, hey, we're going to give you all these amendments. How great is that? And then what would happen is that people would build this reliance and dependence, and then that extension didn't last. And also, what happens is that when you kill that microbiological profile in the soil,
yes,
then you're really up Schitt's Creek. That's when things are really not producing well enough. The agricultural extensions oftentimes don't even understand or know about these systems.
Right.
And it just can collapse. It can get very, very dangerous.
And then what?
So,
the
concept of regenerative agriculture is how can we actually be creating agricultural systems
mm-hmm.
that are very diverse, that are very, we're not planting one crop, we're planting a variety of crops to secure, because things happen in nature.
Yes,
and
yes.
also to be able to build diversity. It's like
right, you don't want to show put everything in one basket.
Also, too, like if you go into a forest,
yes.
do you see one tree there?
No.
Exactly.
So,
why do you
yes.
not see one tree there?
Because because of diversity, the plant life, because they have the forest needs several trees to survive.
Exactly.
Several the animal life needs several different kind of species of plant, and they eat different kinds of plant.
Exactly. It's creating essentially like the natural ecosystem for plants to actually have a certain level of resiliency.
Yes.
Also to be, part of even like, again, kind of thinking about carbon cycling. Like if you're in a forest,
right,
trees are losing their leaves, they're dying occasionally, they're falling over, they're decomposing, there's other animals that might be dying there that are decomposing,
yes,
reborn, etc. So like these cycles are, we're looking at carbon cycle, we're looking at nitrogen cycling,
yes,
we're looking at other mineral cycling going through the soil. These cycles are incredibly important. And so what's happened now is that agricultural extensions are telling farmers to put out minerals that in amounts that make absolutely no quantitative sense whatsoever.
right.
And then what happens is that because the microbiological profile of the soil has been so degraded, the plants can't even take up those nutrients anywhere. So farmers are spending a tremendous amount of money on these extension programs.
Yes.
They're not really seeing any benefit from it. They're not building the biological profile of the soil, and it's just absolutely insane. So someone to put on your radar is a woman named Dr. Elaine Ingham. She's got like every letter after her name possible, and it's badass because she's like basically an old woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing. She's really developed the concept and research around the soil food web. I've studied with her. I'm actually doing a program with her called the Soil Food Web Institute. It's just kind of like continue training and education.
Yes.
But like Man, there's like huge portals of information about this for you, but I'll leave it at, just to kind of.
This is really good. I
keep
know
your
in the
interest,
Caribbean, I know there was an issue some time ago in Jamaica where the government they were getting fertilizers from abroad, and of course the fertilizers were very expensive.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And so on. And now you have that they have a lot of imports of foreign goods as well. Because I'm not sure if because the fertilizers are now expensive, and because fertilizers are now expensive, it's easier for them now to import foreign goods instead of buying fertilizers and growing it themselves. And then of course, I'm not sure if that's part of the problem. But regenerative agriculture looks at how they can help to develop the soil that has been damaged or from soil erosion, and also to augment the agriculture in these countries so that they can develop a diversity of agricultural products to feed themselves and the world, and to develop some level of independence agriculturally.
Totally. It extends into a lot of different concepts. I mean, it can extend into, a concept which is considered agroforestry. So
Yes.
like looking at forestry systems that you can be value adding, sequestering carbon.
Yes.
Like a forest ecosystem is the most abundant, and especially tropical forest ecology.
Yes.
Those are the most abundant ecosystems on the planet, So now what we're seeing around, Central, South America, Caribbean, people have deforested
Yes.
to put cattle there, to grow corn there, to grow soybeans there, that are really not nearly as productive,
Yes.
not nearly as beneficial for
Or houses.
I mean, it goes on and on.
Yes.
Like, the idea with also too this concept of having to buy fertilizers and amendments.
Yes.
You can make every single amendment and fertilizer that you need by collecting really simple, basic things within the same area. It's just a matter of people have been really separated from this aspect of consciousness because of commercialized systems, because of globalization.
Yes.
Because of it's really and it's beyond the fact that it's unethical. It's dangerous for the planet. It's like we're really at peak crisis climate-wise right now, and the amount of actual carbon that we could be sequestering in the soil from having a living soil food web is tremendous. I mean, it's like Elaine Ingham has documented that there is soil food web activity up to a mile below the surface of the soil when there's proper ecosystem intact. So you think about I love trees, I love forests, we need to plant more forests, we need to protect them, etc. But no, we have a tremendous amount of arable land under agriculture. We need to be thinking about how to be producing better food that's also more nutrient dense and is helping sequester carbon,
Wow. And this will probably deal with some of the world hunger problems that we have, especially in countries of the global south,
See, but world hunger, I mean, in and of itself is there's more than enough food being produced on this planet,
Okay,
it's there's this really interesting book that you should read. It's by this woman named Frances Moore Lapay. And she interviews Vandana Shiva in that book.
Yes.
Vandana Shiva is an Indian woman who's a seed activist, and I think she's got a PhD in something, literally neuroscience or something. Someone's an insane mind. And she talks about how India at any given time has literally millions of people there who are starving, and how many people die there from actual starvation and malnutrition there every year. And that she was talking about how there's these huge reserves of corn and wheat that they don't want to open up because it would affect the pricing of that on the market in India. So they'd rather keep that shit on lock and never release it because it would drop the valuation of that on their commodities markets than actually feed people. And this is the problem.
Yes. People are more concerned about their pockets and a few people than feeding the people who need to be fed in the world. I mean,
and that's the problem too, with desertification that's happening. We remove forest ecosystems.
Yes.
We have a warming planet. People are really disassociated from what regenerative agriculture is at this point.
Yes.
And then you mix in regional conflict, etc. Like, I mean, it's you know, like, it's hard for people to be growing what they need to be doing, but they also don't have that relationship too of how to be growing in a regenerative framework, you know.
Oh wow, this was good. So thank you.
Right here, Ronaldo.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Oh, I want to learn. I want to learn more. Regenerative agriculture works best where, and what are some of the effects of it now, and so on.
Everywhere, man. Like, literally.
Oh,
like,
wow.
It's really a framework of consciousness.
Yes.
And then there's different ways to. You know what? Send me your email, because there's
RonaldoCMcKenzie@gmail.com.
free conference, and there's going to be some epic people on there.
A free conference on regenerative agriculture by Elaine Ingram.
Yeah. I can forward you the info.
All right. I'm going to. Welcome back. That was Colette, who was just talking about regenerative agriculture, and I can't wait to do some more research on that, and to look and also to share this great project with other countries and other people. Say, for example, people in Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean, and even people here in the U.S. in the South, and how we can utilize this great idea, this great method of responding to some issues of world hunger, so on and so forth. But we also want to turn our attention to some more solutions to issues of poverty, issues of income inequality, looking at neoliberalism, globalization, income inequality, poverty, and resistance. When we look at resistance, not only are we looking at strategies and ways that people can come together to resist through action, but also the kind of action that we can do, or that we can pursue, is one that Colette is doing, but one that people such as Kevin Donaldson and the Roots Financial Group is doing. So I published a news alert some time ago that says Roots Financial Group has acquired a 42% stake in QuickCart, which was formerly QuickPlate. Again, Roots Financial Group has acquired a 42% stake in QuickCart, formerly QuickPlate. Now, this is a positive move as I continue to do research concerning neoliberalism, globalization, income inequality, poverty, and resistance. Looking at the dynamics of peoples and places, winners and losers, and the strategies and ideologies of these positions, I have argued that former colonies like Jamaica continue to fall behind because of brain drain and other socio-political, economic, and international or racial reasons. And of course, some of these are de jure or de facto factors, whether they are systematic or whether at the policy level, or whether it is through prejudices that people have who demonstrate those prejudices without policy. However, there are Jamaicans who are doing some big things as they seek to take control of their lives and generate wealth for themselves and peoples by providing international and domestic financial solution services to customers locally and in the diaspora. Now you can send money to Jamaica and elsewhere by utilizing a global South mechanism, or that is domestic, as a way to build and create wealth and opportunities for those peoples. We talk about remittances in our book, and we looked at how remittance is also one of the major revenue sector for Jamaica. I mean, of course, remittances is not really a sector. We're talking about mining is a sector, or bauxite, because Jamaica also has bauxite. And of course, tourism, we said, is a sector. But Jamaica makes hundreds of billions of dollars from remittances, family and friends and well-wishers overseas. And not just Jamaica, I'm talking about countries of the global south. What is very important for their viability, for their survival, especially during COVID, was their family and friends who live abroad, who send money, which to them, which many believe is part of their civic duty, or part of their duty, part of their responsibility, to take care of those who have fallen behind. Since we are part of a family, a koinonia. So that is actually commendable. But Western Union and other platform and other other companies was responsible. Was one of the ways in which Jamaicans and people over international people or people living in the diaspora could send money abroad. But who owns Western Union and so on? It wasn't a Jamaican company. But now people in their own poles of the global south, people are using their knowledge and understanding of the system to create ways in which they can profit. They can profit. Where people overseas and their friends and their family sending money to their friends, to people locally, now can use a local scheme developed by their own as another way to develop prosperity and economic independence. So I invite you to support Kevin Donaldson and the Roots Financial Group as they seek to reposition themselves in Jamaica to become a meaningful competitor in this neoliberal globalized world. And I actually did publish this in my in a blog, and you can check in the ronaldocmckenzie.blogspot.com for a posting on this particular issue with other links. Now, I would have loved to have Kevin Donaldson on this show. And I am going to add an episode, because we're not going to finish with this episode. But I'm going to add a segment to this episode with an interview with the Roots Financial Group and Kevin Donaldson about how they're doing so far, what led to this business decision, and what's the progress or the status of how they're doing. And what are some of the challenges they had, so on and so forth. But this is great, and this is a good example whereby countries of the global south can't just look for handouts as a way to resolve some of their issues or continue on the path of dependent capitalism, but also find ways, creative ways, to develop independence. Thank you so much for listening to another round of the neoliberal, another episode of the Neoliberal Podcast. And I hope that you continue to support me and to support this show and this program. Get a copy of the book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Kobo, eBay. Or you can get a copy from me directly by sending me an email, or go ronaldocmckenzie@gmail.com, or going to my eBay page, RENMCKE90, and you can access actually a copy that way. Or you can, if you are trying to buy bulk copies, you can actually go on Ingram Spark, and they will have copies as well. Thank you so much for listening to another episode, and I hope you have a great day. Tomorrow we have another big story. I have a big story that I actually want to share with you on the next episode. In addition to giving you an update about what's going on with Ukraine, but I also want to share with you some news regarding Florida Senate. Florida Senate passed a GOP-backed ban on teaching students to feel guilt for history. And I have a comment on that. And actually, I posted this comment on my Reddit page discussion group, and I have had a voluminous response. Several persons have gotten involved in that discussion. So you can join my Reddit, check out my blogspot, RenaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com, and then access the link to the Reddit page discussion where we're talking about this story that I'm about to share with you here on the Neoliberal Round. Florida Senate passes GOP-backed ban on teaching students to feel guilt for history. That will be coming up on the next episode of the Neoliberal Round. Join us. Take care.